Honorable committee members and fellow advocates, my name is Andy. I'm the proud parent of three enthusiastic and often loud children. And like many parents, I feel like my job as a dad is pretty similar to that of a detective. I'm constantly trying to find the missing pieces of the puzzle so we can figure out where we last left our coat or what happened to our lunch money. And my wife and I have even purchased hundreds of stickers with our kids' names on them to help items come back to us. In fact, I'm sure there's probably a mountain of water bottles hidden somewhere at school or daycare with my family's names stickered all over them. But sometimes what really gets lost isn't an object, it's a child's confidence. And sometimes the missing piece of the puzzle isn't that corner piece that we find right away. That missing piece is why we're here today. It's universal literacy screening. My son Kellen is 8 years old within the last month. He's an avid chicken farmer of the small flock we have here at home. And he's taken to yelling, "Chickens assemble," when it's time to feed them. A few years ago, when Kellen started school, he passed his kindergarten literacy screening. A year later, in grade 1, he was assessed through the reading recovery program and was not flagged. Instead, where our screening tools failed, a motivated teacher who had taken a personal interest in best practices for reading and writing came to our rescue. She used her structured literacy training, and she identified that our son was having reading difficulties in grade 1, despite passing his screenings. That teacher encouraged us to ask the school for help assessing Kellen's needs. And when we asked, we were told by the school, wait until grade 3. And then the school would consider a psychoeducational assessment, but they warned us it could take years on the wait list. So instead, we sought a private psychoeducational assessment from out of town, and Kellen was diagnosed with dyslexia and dysgraphia. 2 years later, my daughter Harper came through kindergarten. And when we first asked her teacher didn't know if her students had taken part in any literacy screenings or not. In grade 2, my son finally started receiving some interventions at school, but he fell further behind his peers as the year went along. The boy who used to yell, "Chickens assemble," was now saying things like, "I'll never learn to read," or "I just look at the pictures so my friends think I'm reading." Another year came and went, and then in grade 3, we asked for some more supports for Kellen. Research says that he needs 3 to 4 hours of interventions a week, and not the hour a week that he was getting at school. And we were told by the school that instead of providing more resources, they were cutting one of the literacy support positions from the resource team and couldn't help us. Now, my son spends 3 hours a week at home receiving one-on-one tutoring to learn to read. In 1 year, after private out-of-town assessments and home tutoring, my family has spent close to $10,000 to help our son learn to read. Universal early screening helps schools identify children at risk for reading difficulties, like Kellen. And this proactive approach enables timely interventions, which can significantly improve literacy outcomes. And literacy is a gateway to so many things like we've heard about today. Education, employment, well-being, the list goes on and on. And every child deserves the right to learn to read proficiently, regardless of their background or their ability, not just the ones who are able to afford it. When I look back at my family story so far, I'm thankful that there were some screenings in place for some of my kids, but this needs to be consistent across all classrooms and all schools, and the right screening tools need to be used. Early literacy screening is only effective if the tools used are valid, reliable, they're sensitive to the risk factors for reading difficulties, like dyslexia. Research shows that using outdated or poorly designed tools can lead to false negatives and missing kids who need help, like Kellen, false reassurance where we think everything's fine when it's not, and wasted resources as interventions don't match a child's actual needs. I'm excited that Bill 225 is being considered, and I understand the philosophy that many may have when considering mandating things in schools. I understand the push to not want to be too prescriptive and to let schools find what works for them. But without specifying a list or criteria for screening, there's a risk of inequality. Some schools may be better at identifying competent screening tools, and other schools might miss the mark. Or schools may even choose tools based on convenience, cost, or familiarity, and not scientific rigor. To create this list of screening tools, my hope is the ministry and yourselves can pull from evidence-based criteria, look at validity, reliability, predictive value of these tools. My hope is that this bill can mandate literacy screening for sure, but also provide a list of recommended tools that schools can pick from. And maybe even going a bit further, allow for schools to select screening and screening tools that aren't on that list, but provided they can demonstrate equivalent scientific merit for those tools. That could perhaps strike a balance between ensuring minimum standards of quality and still allowing some local choice, just local choice within evidence-based boundaries. Kellen's story isn't one of struggle, it's one of discovery. Once we found that missing piece of the puzzle and understood how he learned, everything changed. His confidence started to grow, his joy for reading along with it. And that's what universal screening can do. It shines a light on the students in our classrooms and makes sure that no child has to wait to be seen. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Deppner. Any questions? Emily Lamoureux.
Thank you, Honourable Chairperson, and I'd like to thank you for your presentation this evening and for highlighting the importance of a child's confidence. That can't be stated enough this evening as we continue on through committee here. I also want to thank you for being very honest about the amount of money, $10,000 that you've had to spend just to get to where you are today. And I believe that education, I believe everyone around this table would agree with this, that education and learning and reading is a fundamental human right. It is something that Canada prides itself on, and you should not have had to pay $10,000 to get to where you are. And that is why this legislation is so important, to ensure that every single student is being screened and parents don't have to seek outside private resources, especially for those parents who cannot afford to do so. So thank you.
Mr. Deppner, would you like to respond?
I echo that sentiment. Obviously, we know it's a big month right now with the Human Rights Commission releasing the Right to Read report at the end of October. And so I'm further to this point, I'm excited to see what that has to say as well.
Minister Schmidt.
Thank you, Honourable Chairperson. Thank you very much, Mr. Deppner, for your presentation here tonight. Thank you for your acknowledgement of the need to strike a balance and not be too prescriptive. I think you've hit the right note, and I think we very much agree with you on that note. While, you know, to be frank, as Minister myself today, I'm comfortable with myself having that discretion, but I have to tell you that I don't know how comfortable I would be in giving that discretion to any and all governments, especially if you were paying attention to some of the debate that we had here in our chamber yesterday. Something that you said really struck a chord with me, which is local choice within evidence-based boundaries. And I would argue and suggest to you, Mr. Deppner, and to all the presenters here tonight, that is exactly what our department has mandated. It is exactly the work that we are doing and what has rolled out in schools this year for a pilot. And that is that our department and we are providing criteria. We are working with school divisions in consultation to make sure that the tools that they picked are local, are made within a local choice, but with those evidence-based boundaries. Thank you very much.
Mr. Deppner, would you like to respond to that?
Thank you.
Emily Cook.
Thank you, Mr. Deppner, for your presentation. And despite the veiled partisan comments from the minister, I think the value of this legislation is, in fact, that it enshrines early universal screening in such a way that no government could change it. And I think you've reinforced the value of early screening and the importance of passing this legislation. So thank you.
Mr. Deppner, would you like to respond?
Yeah, again, thank you so much.
Are there any further questions? Thank you for your presentation tonight, Mr. Deppner.